So we're back once again in Pure Data for our granular synthesis engine in Pure Data and a graphic user interface that we're going to build in MobMuPlat. But before we finally launch into MobMuPlat, what I need to do is draw your attention to a small number, very small number of bug fixes that I have to take care of, some tweaks. One of them is fundamental. I think the rest of them are merely additional functionality. So we'll go in here first inside the grain test sub.pd. This is the distinct patch that the clone object is referring to. Go into edit mode. This sample hold here is something that was added. Why was that added? No, where would I put it for clarity? I'll just leave it where it was. So there are two signal inlets. There are three signal inlets, but there are two signal values that we need to sample and hold. And previously I was only sampling and holding one of them, which is the noise with which we mute the grain window to effectively slice up the grains. There was no sample and hold here, and the direct effect of that is when I modulated pitch here, I'm doing small values, there was some zipper noise, there was sample discontinuities, crackling, and the reason was that I had forgotten to insert a sample and hold onto that sample size value that's coming into the clone subpatch. So that was a bug fix. Additional functionality inside this pitch size subpatch. Well, you can see that I've removed the expression tilde objects. I don't know why. Computationally, do you get any benefit from using signal objects over expression tilde objects to do your signal vector maths? I don't know. What I've added is a value, a noise value. Again, this is a low frequency noise oscillator, and I'm adding that value, which is scaled by pitch mod range. I'm adding that to the pitch factor, so in effect we get automatic pitch modulation. And if I turn DSP on, oh sorry, I need to start jack. Let's do this again. So I can alter pitch, I can modulate pitch manually, but if I set that to 1 or any other number and gradually increase the intensity of the noise that I'm adding to that pitch value, let's get something pitched, some pitched material. Well, speech is pitched, but something with a fixed pitch. Flute, where are you? Set that value to 0. It's my lovely flute. Here's some pitch modulation. All good, all good. What we're going to do in the next and hopefully last video is we are going to create design a graphic user interface populated with variety of widgets or interactive control artifacts, which we can use to control elements of this patch. And I've labeled them in purple here. Obviously we want to control the size of the grain, the pitch of the grain, the depth of pitch modulation. We also need to initialize the polyphonic subpatch. We want control over muting, blur or range size, and sample offset into the audio file. All of which could tie us up a bit. So I thought that the best way to approach MobMuPlat for the newcomer, for the beginner, was to use a very simple sound synthesis engine. And it arguably doesn't get any simpler than FM synthesis. This is the most basic FM synth patch you can design. We have a center frequency signal that I'm not going to go into detail, but we're controlling the center frequency of an oscillator, and as I said earlier, we were talking about pitch modulation. Well, we're using a sine wave rather than low frequency noise. Here we're using a sine wave to modulate that center frequency signal. In effect, we are making micro adjustments, or we can make micro adjustments to the pitch. So FM, in summary, is audio rate pitch modulation. This is vibrato. This is FM. And now we're going to build a simple patch in MMP or MobMuPlat. And we have three values here. We have the center frequency, the modulator frequency, or the ratio, and the modulator depth. So I thought that it would make much more sense and enhance the clarity if we just used a simple FM synth before delving into designing a graphic user interface for our granulator. So MobMuPlat consists of two elements: the editor that you run on your PC, and then the app that runs on your tablet. And inside that app, you have your graphic user interface and your pure data synthesis engine. That's all I'll say about that. So I'll just launch the editor. I'm on Linux here, so it's a cross-platform .jar file. That'll be different if you're on Windows or Mac. So this is just a gentle introduction to MobMuPlat. So we're presented with a window with a number of options. I can't zoom in here, so if you can't see the text, you'll have to take my word for it. But screen size, I am going to set as, I know my tablet is wide, and the orientation I prefer is landscape. Next option is background color. Let's go mad. Do we want pink or battleship blue? Yes, let's do that. Page count. We'll leave a page count set as 1. Now the next window on this first, we have 4 tabs up here: doc, add, prop, and lock. Doc is document. Add is to add GUI widgets. Properties is where we set the properties of each of those GUI elements, and lock is when we want to test the patch on PC. So back to the doc tab. You must call, first of all, I have to save this file, save as, and where you save it is important. So where is the simple FM for MMP patch? Where did I put it? I put it in, oh, stop that. Documents, pure data, and I think it's in there. No, new grain video, it's in there, is it? Oh, I need to make 100% sure that I need to verify where I've saved that pure data patch. Pure data, new grain video, and I've called it simple FM. Yes, there it is. It's inside new grain video. So this is where I have to save the MobMuPlat document, and you have to call it the same thing. Simp FM -4 MMP. Save. And now back in the editor window, I need to set the main PD file to that name, simp FM -4 MMP .pd, so that MMP is aware of the pure data file that's being controlled. And do save again. So we have, in the background, we have our pure data patch open, and in the foreground here now we have our MMP patch, and their names must match. Then you also must tell MMP what the name of the relevant PD patch is. If you don't, it won't work. So let's see how many control values we have going into, or we require. We want a center frequency, we want modulator frequency and modulator depth. And that is all. But I think I would also like a message that says semicolon PD space DSP $1, and then I'm going to attach a toggle to that, Control Shift T. This will allow me to turn audio on and off from the GUI that we're about to build. That's one thing. And I also want a slider. No, not H slider, I want a vertical slider. Oh, that's largely irrelevant because this won't show up on the GUI that we're going to design. I want to multiply. I want the level control. This is just a volume slider. So multiply tilde. So within my GUI, I also have some control over the loudness, the volume of the patch. And if I do, let me see, Control 1 and then multiply by 0.00787, multiply, that gives me approximately 0 to 1. Let's test it. So I can turn audio on and off, and I can control the volume, output volume. How do I get from my graphic user interface to PD? Again, we're not going to go into too much detail. But so I have I need a toggle. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 sliders. So add a toggle, a slider. So I'm in the Add tab now. So that's a slider for center frequency. Let's put a label. Go to Properties, click on the label, and then in the blank box where it says my text goes here, I'm going to write CF and make the font larger. So that's center frequency. I think if I shift click and then do control copy, control verify, yes, I get another slider, and I'll change the properties of this panel. It says center frequency, and I will say MR, which is mod ratio. Control verify again. Click on this panel, change its properties to MD, which is mod depth. One more. Click on the panel to select it, and I'll just do MV in capitals. That's my master volume. So one more panel for some text, and I will say DSP to turn audio on and off, and that's it. Audio on and off, and then 4 controllers. Now these control values will be in distinct and separate ranges. We can handle all that later. What I want to do is get these values. This is one piece of software, this is another piece of software. How do I get the data from these sliders into pure data? The numbers from MMP into PD. Well, as I said, without going into too much detail, if we observe this window here, it says out / my toggle 1. When I turn it off, out / my toggle 0. Out / my toggle 1, my toggle 0. Then move the slider, out / my slider, then a value between 0 and 1, my slider 0 and 1, my slider. These are all called my slider. What are we going to do about that? Well, we go back to properties, and underneath the little color dialog boxes here is a window, text window called my address. Toggle's address is / my toggle. Slider is my slider. These are all the same. We need to make those unique. So my toggle, I could just call it / DSP. The / is vital. Well, we can't get rid of that. Why? Well, we'll talk about that later in more detail. So I'm going to call this one SLD1, so that's slider 1. I'm going to call this SLD2, SLD3, SLD3, and the last one, obviously, SLD4. Now, when I lock and view the data, I've got DSP1, 0. Got SLD1 and a value, SLD2, SLD3, SLD4. So in the briefest possible terms, MobMuPlat communicates with pure data over a network protocol called Open Sound Control, OSC. And OSC uses a URL address system where values are separated by the /. So we have 4 sliders, each with a unique head. Oh, this last one didn't get changed. Why not? I thought I'd changed it to my slider for my, oh, not my slider, but SLD4. Enter. Just save this. So MMP and pure data communicate on the local network, local host, using address strings or headers separated by / character. So we go back into pure data. I need to do file, open. Now what I could do is I could create an object called net receive, I think it's called, yeah, and get access to the localhost network, i.e. this computer's own internal network. But conveniently, the developer of MobMuPlat has provided a nice little wrapper, which is a pure data patch. It's inside MMP, patches. Where is it? I forget where it lives. Oh, there it is, there. It's in the higher level. It's called PD wrapper. Open. Now, I'll let you see it just to frighten you. But this handles all communication. Oh, I've just closed it. This handles all the communication between MMP and pure data in both directions, from MMP to PD and from PD back to MMP. So on our PC, in order to test things, we need this PD wrapper open. So rather than close it, I'll just minimize it. Oh, hold on. I want to show something. Here it is here. This chap here. Let's just see if we can zoom in on him. Net receive, this is receiving the OSC messages from MobMuPlat. There's a lot of stuff going on. You can see the / address system, or address format here. And this guy down here, send from GUI. So minimize that again. Make a new object and call it receive, or R, from GUI. Exactly like that. Receive from lowercase, then GUI, uppercase, all one word. And again, without going into too much detail, I'm going to attach another object called list trim. And just to briefly illustrate why we need that list trim object, I'm going to attach another object called print to the from GUI object, receive from GUI. And open my PD window here. Put him up there. Go back into MMP, lock it, and turn DSP on and off in the GUI. And you should be able to see here, yeah, I think we can enlarge that font, can't we? Probably not. Zoom in. Yes, we can. When I interact with this MMP widget and this slider, you can see that the data is being sent as a list. That list is preceded with the string list, or the word list. I don't need that. I don't need those characters. I don't need the word list. So we use list space trim object in PD, and that strips out that word. And then we use another PD object which may or may not be familiar, called root, and I'm going to say root / SLD1, and attach a number box to it. Then go back into MobMuPlat, make sure that the patch is locked so I can interact with it. And there we are, lo and behold. I'm getting a changing value here inside pure data, but I'm not interacting directly with pure data. Well, I am. But in the background, as it were, via OSC over the localhost network. Moving SLD1. If I move SLD2, nothing happens, because I haven't told PD to look for those messages. So that would simply be a matter of doing / DSP space / SLD1 space / SLD2, and so on for the remaining GUI widgets. So I can replace that number box with a toggle, and then attach numbers to number boxes. Attach number boxes to that root object. And then just attach a toggle there. Set this off to one side. Go back to my GUI. Oh, hold on. We want to see the toggle as well, don't we? This message is going out to pure data. It's being received via the PD wrapper that comes with MMP. It's sending out a wireless object called from GUI, and we're receiving it inside our patch, trimming off the header list, and then identifying the names that I've given to each of these GUI objects. I could call these GUI widgets anything I want and create a hierarchical tree. But this is MMP at its most simple use. So now I've got my GUI elements into pure data. I need to map them to suitable ranges for each of these 4 control values. What I want to do now is assign this incoming control data to the synthesis engine. Well, we could be very tidy, and well, let's be a little bit tidy anyway. First of all, put him down there and move the incoming data up here. I can lose that toggle now, and this will turn DSP on and off. As I mentioned, the sliders range between 0 and 1. I think it's possible to change the slider range. Yes, you can. You can send float values or integers. I prefer to have the range 0 to 1 fixed, and then do the mapping in PD. So the first slider 1, let's use that for the center frequency, and control 1 expr dollar float 1. Let's scale it up by a factor of 500 and add $50 to it. We could use send and receives, but I'm kind of keen to move on from staring at PD. We'll just check that one from 50 to 550 approximately. Yeah, let's scale up. Let's try 1500. So that's 50 to 1500-ish. Modulator ratio. Well, we'll just use another expression object. And this time, what I'll do is, let's keep all the expressions down here. A ratio of, say, 0.2 is the lowest value. And then an approximate upper value of, say, 5. So we will now try mod ratio, 0.2 to around 5. And we'll just keep going. Another expression object for the depth. will say 0 for the depth. So we will scale that up to times 1500 seems about right. And then the master volume is 0 to 1. So we don't. Well, let's get rid of this slider and this multiplier and just use the raw 0 to 1 value. Let's check if it works. We turn DSP on. Center frequency, master volume. Modulator ratio, modulator depth. I do want to take care of this master volume, so I'm going to use an expression object. And we're going to say we'll reduce it to 0.5, not add anything to it. Remember, there's safety proviso that your final output signal or control value should never exceed 1 or -1. I think we can just put power in there, POW, that value to the power of 2. I think that works. No, it doesn't. Help file for expression. From somewhere you can do expression operators and functions. Oh, you need A and B. Okay. Yeah, just the syntax there was POW power, raise that value to the power of 2. Thank you. And we should have slightly nicer exponential control over volume. So yes. Let's try, I want an even lower value so that we can get some vibrato. DSP off. Now, let's just summarize before I describe how to get this synthesis engine onto a tablet. As I'm using my tablet to record my PC laptop screen, I'll have to use my phone to demonstrate the entire patch running on the tablet. So, to summarize, we set the properties of the MMP document itself on the Doc tab. We add GUI widgets by clicking on these little guys here and just get rid of all those. Whoa, there's a lot. Delete. Delete. Backspace. Okay, it's backspace. Not delete. Under the Properties tab, you click on one of the GUI widgets. You can set its address, its destination, with the / and then some characters. And they are case sensitive, I believe. Yes, they are. That would make sense that they are. And then to test the patch, we first of all need to lock it, and helpfully in the window, a little display showing us what those outgoing messages are. Then in PD we need our patch. Oh, and one other thing we need in the document, this is vital. We need to name the PD file that the GUI is going to be controlling, and then to test it on PC we need the PD patch synthesis engine open, but we also need the PD wrapper open. Not necessarily visible, but just running. So in this case, there are two documents, the PD wrapper notwithstanding. There's the MMP patch and there's the pure data patch. We need to put both of those on the tablet. There are a number of ways to do that. You can email the two files to yourself, then on your tablet, download them on the tablet that you have MMP installed. And MMP will recognize the .mmp extension. When you download and save it, you can open it in MMP. In iOS, you can use that method, or you can use iTunes. In Windows, you would use a File Explorer, connect your tablet to your Windows machine and upload the files that way. On Linux, what I do is I use Android File Browser or Android File Transfer. No MMP device found. Oh, that's because I haven't connected it. There, it's connected now. I need to unmount it first in Linux, then run Android File Transfer. I think I'm going to close these down because I'm kind of done with PD. Yeah, I need to go into the MobMuPlat directory and then click upload. Just do the same thing. Open. Now they should be down here. SympFM, SympFM. Now I'll switch over to my phone camera and just do a quick lo-fi video of the app running on the tablet. So we're on the tablet on which I've installed MobMuPlat. Launch MobMuPlat and it will orient itself portrait, unfortunately, but if we click the file browser on the top left hand corner, we can search the MobMuPlat directory, and we recall that the MMP patch was called SimpleFM4 MMP. That's it there. Don't open the PD patch. You can do if you want, but open the MobMuPlat file. And once I've done that, what I often like to do is go back to the document browser. Let's not get too carried away. Go up to the top right and you can view documents, audio and MIDI setup, network setup and console. This is the debug window and it is blank. That's what we want to see. No errors like a missing object, or, well, it's usually a missing object or an object that PD Vanilla doesn't understand. So there's the GUI we built on our PC editor. Turn audio on, bring the master volume up. It's really just to prove and verify that it works.